Well, Russian drone strikes have targeted fuel infrastructure in Ukraine's Kharkiv region. And this as Kyiv announced changes to its military leadership and confirmed a new round of talks with US envoys.
In fact, adding to that, Diksha, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says that he will meet US Secretary of State Marco Rubio today, and this will be on the sidelines of the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meet in Manila.
Well, Russian drone strikes have hit 2 petrol stations in Ukraine's northeastern city of Kharkiv, setting fuel tanks ablaze and damaging infrastructure in the latest wave of attacks on the border city. Footage from the scene showed burnt fuel pumps, scorched equipment and emergency crews working to clear the damage. Ukrainian authorities said no casualties were reported. A petrol station employee said that workers heard a drone buzzing overhead, and this was moments before the strike. Listen to this.
We heard a buzzing sound. It was close. We could tell it was already right above us. We just didn't know where it would strike, but we could hear it very clearly.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has completed a major reshuffle of the country's military leadership, appointing Ihor Sryobyuk as the new chief of staff.
President Volodymyr Zelensky had confirmed Mikhailo Drapati has formally taken over as Ukraine's military commander-in-chief, replacing Alexander Syrsky, whose leadership had faced criticism. Now, Zelensky described both commanders as experienced and battle-tested.
The reshuffle follows days of political uncertainty in Kiev, which includes mega protests after the removal of former defense minister Mikhailo Fedorov, which sparked debate over the direction of Ukraine's leadership.
Today, the new commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Mikhailo Drapati, officially assumed his duties. The changes have already taken place. Together with Mikhailo and Yevgeny Kmara, we determined that Ihor Sryobyuk will become the new chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. That decision has also already been made. These are battle-tested, experienced men. The troops know them: Drapati, Kmara and Sryobyuk.
How people in Kyiv have reacted to the military reshuffle with a mix of hope, skepticism and cautious optimism. Many residents say that the changes have not addressed the demands that brought people onto the streets. They said the removal of Syrsky without Fedorov's return meant protesters' main goal was not achieved.
Well, people took to the streets to keep Fedorov in office, but they sacked this one, Syrsky, so they sacked him. But so what? They didn't bring the other one, Fedorov, back. In other words, the goal hasn't been achieved.
Zelensky also said that he held talks with US envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner as diplomatic efforts continue to find a path towards ending the war with Russia. Zelensky said that the discussion focused on bringing peace closer as US-led negotiations remain stalled over Moscow's demands for Ukraine to cede territory.
Now, on the diplomatic front, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is expected to meet US Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Manila today, with discussions expected to include the conflicts in Ukraine and West Asia. Meanwhile, in Crimea, residents of the resort city of Yalta reacted after an overnight drone attack that local authorities said wounded at least 17 people. Residents described a night of fear, with one tourist saying that they were unable to sleep as drones flew over the city. Listen to this.
Drones were flying over the street. Of course, it was scary. We didn't sleep. We were worried. Of course, at first I wanted to pack up and leave. But then I decided to stay until the end of the vacation, until Saturday. I hope that everything will calm down somehow, that the situation will be resolved.
Well, new videos circulating on social media showed a major fire at a wild berries warehouse in Russia's Stavropol region after what Ukraine described as another long-range drone strike.